Welcome back, guys. Today we'll look at paper 22 again from February-March 2025, and as always with these videos I will also recommend checking the mark scheme, and of course if the video is too slow then you can watch it at 1.5 or 2 times the speed. Okay, so question 1 says tick one box to complete this sentence: a standard method of solution used to find a piece of data in an array. Right, okay, so bubble sort, well of course that's for sorting, right, either ascending, descending. Counting routine, okay, so I guess that's for counting how many times the element exists in the array. So this is actually similar to linear search where you just loop through, right, okay, so you'd loop through every element, then you just have an if statement, and you'd say, well, if, let's say, the current element is equal to the element we're trying to find, well, then you just increment a counter. Alright, but if we're trying to find a element in an array, well, then that's going to be linear search. And kind of, yeah, as I've just mentioned, okay, what you're going to do, you're going to loop through every element in the array, right, if the element is equal to the one we're trying to find. Well, if we're inside a function, then we can just return true, right, just to, sort of exit that for loop. I guess if we're not inside a function, well, we would need either a while or repeat until, and we would just keep looping until, I guess, what found equals false. Yeah, so we would also need a sort of Boolean flag, right, just kind of representing if we found that or not. Right, then if we look at selection search, well actually I did just check this and this algorithm doesn't even exist. This is something they've just made up. There is a selection sort, but that's not in IG. Then if we just mention bubble sort, now actually this is obviously more complex, probably the most complex algorithm in IG. I do have the entire IG syllabus video, or yeah, the entire IG pseudocode syllabus video, and I think around 2 hours 20. Yeah, I think I cover that. Okay, that's going to be in the timestamps anyway. Right, if you also want sort of more details about bubble sort, well, if you go to the tutorial section of my site, right, then I do cover that, and that's going to be in the arrays tutorial. I mean, just quickly, right, so bubble sort, well, you're going to need two optimizations. The first one is that we only want to sort kind of, well, while it's not sorted. Or in fact, actually, yeah, let's rephrase that. Okay, so let's say we only want to kind of loop, right, while it's not sorted. So you would have a flag, let's say maybe, yeah, is sorted, right, equals false. And what you would do, well, you would loop while is sorted equals false. Right, inside each loop you would set is sorted to true, so kind of assuming it is sorted. And then if you have to make a swap, well, then you can set is sorted to false. Alright, so what that means is basically once the array is sorted, well, then that is sorted is not going to be set back to false. Yeah, therefore it's just going to kind of terminate right at the end of that loop. Right, so that's one of the optimizations. The other optimization is that each iteration on bubble sort, the rightmost element is going to be sorted. So let's say this is our array, and I'm not going to fill it with numbers. Okay, but let's just say right after the first pass, well, the sort of rightmost element is sorted. Okay, after the second pass, well, the second rightmost element is sorted. Right after the third pass, of course, yeah, the third rightmost element is sorted, kind of, etc. So hopefully you can see that actually we don't need to sort of go to the end every time. So let's say we have 5 elements in the array. Okay, we've got, right, 1 to 5. Well, the first time, okay, we only have to loop up to 4, because what we're doing, okay, right, so we're comparing element 4 with element 5. Right, that's going to be the kind of maximum comparison on the first iteration. But then we say, well, since element 5 will be sorted after this pass, right, then what we can do, we can decrement this max index, right, and then on the second pass, well, we only have to go up to element 3, because, right, okay, so then what we're doing, well, we're sorting element 3. In fact, actually, okay, yeah, let's not say sorting, okay, so we're comparing element 3 with element 4, right, then on the third pass, well, then we would only have to compare element 2 with element 3. Obviously, yeah, on the fourth pass, well, we've only got to compare element 1 with 2. Right, so again, hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't, again, well, the entire pseudocode syllabus video, yeah, tutorials on my site, right, that's going to cover bubble sort. Right, okay, then number 2, tick one box to complete this sentence: the pseudocode to store a hotel name in the variable name, right, to a text file. Right, so if we're looking at storing, well, of course, that's going to be WRITEFILE. So I guess, I mean, we can just, discount these read file and actually store file. I mean, that's just some made up thing. Yeah, that's not a real keyword, yeah, according to, Cambridge syntax. Right, okay, so then if we look at WRITEFILE, well, WRITEFILE first is going to take the file name, then it's taking the data we're going to write. So if we look at that, well, here is the file name. Obviously, yeah, here's the data we're going to write. Okay, so yeah, that's going to be that one. Right, 4 development lifecycle stage and 5 descriptions are shown. Right, we want to draw one line from each stage to the most appropriate description, and not all descriptions will be used. Okay, right, so actually the way we can remember this, it's going to be what AD, yeah, okay, actually, yeah, alright, okay, so yeah, ADCT, and right, the way you can remember that, okay, so if you go, well, all dogs can track, I think another one I thought of this morning, alright, you can also go, right, okay, so you can say, well, all developers can test. Alright, and actually that's quite a good one, because actually, well, test, I mean, that's obviously, well, one of the stages, yeah, kind of as well. Alright, so, well, yeah, okay, obviously A, B in analysis, right, D, design, C, coding, right, T, testing. Right, so if we look at the first one, right, identifying the problem and the requirements, well, that's going to be the analysis stage. Basically, if someone comes to you and they say, well, we want you to build, I don't know, this new website, for example, right, they would say, well, the website should have, and then, give you like a list of features. Right, so that I guess you can call, well, the sort of requirements specification, or yeah, the sort of requirements document, right, so that's going to be part of the analysis stage. Right, then if we look at the next one, so reviewing the final solution to suggest further developments. I mean, this one doesn't really sound like anything. You can probably say this is like ongoing maintenance. So yeah, just making kind of further improvements once it's been kind of created. So yeah, I think this is going to be the kind of odd one out that's missing. Right, let's try number 3. So making sure the program code works as expected. Well, I mean, yeah, that sounds like testing. And yeah, the sort of various different testing methods. Right, okay, using structure diagrams, flowcharts, and pseudocode to plan the solution. Well, that's going to be the design stage. And right, using a programming language to create the solution. Of course, right, that's the the coding stage. Right, then a presence check is a type of validation check. State the purpose of a presence check. Right, okay, so this is basically just checking that they've actually entered something. So let's say a lot of websites, of course, you'll have like a password field. Now, if you don't enter a password, right, then of course it's going to say, please enter a password, or yeah, you kind of don't leave it blank. So that's basically what presence check is. Let's say, probably to ensure. Right, to ensure the user. I guess let's say enters data. Yeah, okay. Alright, and maybe, right, okay, so I think probably that's enough. I mean, you could say to ensure the user enters data, and maybe and doesn't leave it blank. Although, to be honest, I mean, saying entering data, well, that's kind of means, doesn't leave it blank anyway. Let's say that, right, doesn't leave it empty. Right, then a value into a computer system must be an integer. Identify the type of validation check used to test whether the value meets this requirement. Right, okay, so that's going to be a type check. And actually, let's just think of all the other different validation checks. So we've said, right, there's going to be a presence check, also a type check. We can go, a range check. We can do a format check. Alright, so I guess a range check, well, that's checking if a number exists in a range. So let's say an exam score, well, maybe the lowest you can score would be 0, and the maximum you can score is 100. So of course, right, okay, so if anyone entered anything outside of that range, well, then it's going to give an error. Right, format check, that can be, for example, a string. Let's say you're going to have an email address. Well, an email address, basically what it's going to be some sort of alphanumeric characters. Right, then it's going to be the @ symbol. Right, then it's going to be, some more alphanumeric characters. Then we can also have a length check, for example, checking the password is at least 8 characters. And I think finally we can have a check digit. So, for example, an ISBN or credit card number, they're going to have a check digit at the end, and that's used just to ensure that they've entered all the preceding digits correctly. And I think, I mean, actually this we don't really need to know how it works in the exam. A lot of people ask, do you have to remember this? So you don't really have to know the exact method. I guess if you just have an overview, that's kind of okay. Alright, so the way that's going to work, well, basically you're going to start on, say, the leftmost digit. Right, then you can, let's say, multiply that by some number. Right, and these numbers, they're always going to be the same. So I think, for example, the ISBN, either you're going to start by multiply by 1, or you're going to multiply by 3. Let's just say it's like multiply by 3. Okay, right, then you're going to go to the second digit, well, that's going to multiply by 1. Obviously, yeah, the third digit, right, you're going to multiply by 3 again, right, then 1, then 3. Just obviously, 1, 3, 1, 3, right, in that alternating pattern. Right, when you get to the end, well, then what you're going to do is you're basically going to think, right, what number do I have to add to this to make it a multiple of 10? And I think ISBN is a multiple of 10. Maybe some of them might be a multiple of 11, or multiple of 13 or something. Alright, so the way you can actually do that calculation, okay, so if you want to make it a multiple of 10, what you would do, okay, you would do 10 minus, right, this would then be the sum mod 10. So let's just write that, I guess, in pseudocode syntax. Right, that's going to be the sum, and then, yeah, mod 10. So, for example, let's say the sum is, okay, so let's say the sum is like 104. Well, then what that's going to do, okay, well, 104 mod 10 is going to be 4. Right, therefore 10 mod that, well, I mean, that's just going to be 6. Right, so what that means, okay, right, so in this case then our check digit is going to be 6, because we have to add 6 to the sum, right, in order to make that multiple of 10. Yeah, hopefully that makes sense. Right, so then number 2, we want to write pseudocode for an algorithm to allow a number to be input into an appropriate variable and check whether the number is an integer. If the number is an integer, it's accepted. Right, if the number is not an integer, an error message is output. And we want to re-input the number until a valid number is input. Okay, so I've gone ahead and just opened this on the site, and I've also used this full screen mode, which I think maybe a lot of people are not aware of. Yeah, likewise, of course, you can use this quiet editor just to remove the navigation bar and the toolbar as well. Right, okay, so yeah, let's just think how we can do this. First, we're going to want to declare, right, let's call that number. Now, let's think about the data type. I think if we go integer, the problem is that if they actually enter a real number, well, then it's just going to crash the program, because we're not going to be able to input a real number yet into an integer variable. So, right, I'm actually going to make that real, and maybe here we can add a comment. Let's say what ensure program, right, doesn't crash. I don't know, yeah, if non-integer number is entered. Or yeah, like if real number is entered. Right, I think that's fine. Right, okay, so what we want then, because we only want the error message to be displayed if the number is not an integer, well then I think we're going to want an output and input first, just to sort of ask them to, you know, enter a number. Right, and basically then we would want the loop that's only looping, yeah, obviously if it's kind of invalid, right, if it's not an integer. So let's try and do that. Let's go output. And right, I'm probably going to say, right, enter a whole number, because I guess probably like the sort of regular person on the street is probably not going to know what an integer is. Whereas I think if you say whole number, I mean, I think everyone should really know what a whole number is. Right, okay, so right, then we're going to go input number. Right, and then here, so here's where we're going to check, right, so we're going to go while. And right, there's three ways we can do this. Either we can use round, right, or we can use mod, or we can use div. Right, okay, so let's just go here round, and what we're going to check, well, we're going to round number to 0 decimal places. Okay, right, so if we do this, well, this should definitely make it a whole number. And what we'll do is basically we'll check, well, while this is not equal to the number. Because let's say, for example, if we have, I don't know, 5.5, well, if we round 5.5 to 0 decimal places, all right, then it's going to become 5. But here, okay, this number is still going to be 5.5. So what we're basically checking is, okay, here. So it's going to be what, while 5 is not equal to 5.5. Yeah, so hopefully that kind of makes sense. Right, so what we're going to do, then we're just going to, well, okay, right, so I'm just going to copy that actually. Right, let's say maybe, right, number, right, is not a whole number. Right, let's say, yeah, is not a whole number, and we'll just say try again. Yeah, that should be fine, and right then, let's just go end while. Alright, and yeah, hopefully this will work. So let's try, I don't know, yeah, like 1, 2, 3, okay, yeah, let's try this one. Yeah, it says, right, it's not a whole number, try again. Let's try, I don't know, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, okay, and that's working. Right, so let's think how we can do this by mod. Now, let's say we have a number like, I don't know, yeah, this, right, okay, 1, 2, 3, right, 0.456. Well, if we mod that by 1, right, then we're basically just going to get this remainder of, you know, 0.456. But if we have a whole number, let's say, what, like 123, so 123 mod 1, right, that's just going to be 0. Yeah, because there's no remainder, right, when we divide it by 1. So let's try that and see if it works. Right, so we want to go the number mod 1, and we're going to check, well, while this is not equal to 0. And right, let's try again. Yeah, again, right, it's not a whole number, and let's try correct. Yeah, okay, right, that's working. And right, finally, let's try div. So I think here, if we div the number by 1, so let's think we have, what, like 5.5 div 1. Well, if we div 1, okay, then we're going to get 5, because we can, you know, successfully divide 5.5 by 1, right, 5 times. and then obviously, well, we would get the remainder of 0.5. So I think here we can check while this is not equal to 1, and yeah, let's see if this works. Yeah, okay, right, not a whole number, and let's try again. Right, also not a whole number. Okay, actually, right, okay, hang on. So I think we want to check, yeah, while this is not equal to number. Right, let's try again, and hopefully this time it will work. Yeah, okay, right, yeah, this time it works. Alright, so a small mistake, but I guess, yeah, finally we got it working. Right, okay, then if we go to question 5, a program is written to only accept data that contains more than 9 characters. The program needs to be tested. Right, the table when completed shows appropriate test data that matches the type of test data and the purpose of the test data. Right, complete the table by inserting the missing information. Right, okay, so ABC, right, type of test data, well, that's going to be abnormal, because obviously that's less than 9 characters. Right, purpose of test data, let's say to ensure what the program, right, let's say to ensure the program, I guess rejects it. Yeah, let's say rejects the input. I mean, what, for being too short, or for being less than 9 characters? Yeah, and actually, I guess here it's actually going to be less than 10 characters, because here we say it's going to have to be 10 or more. Right, okay, so less than 10 characters. Right, okay, then if we think boundary, so boundary, there's going to be 2 cases. Right, one is going to be basically kind of too small, right, and one is going to be just okay. So if we think here, okay, yeah, so because this has to be more than 9 characters, right, then if we say the kind of boundary that's not accepted is going to be data that is 9 characters, right, the sort of other side of the boundary that is accepted, that's going to be 10 characters. So let's go here, maybe let's just say hello. Right, so hello is 5 characters, let's go hello 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, right, so this one is going to be rejected. Right, then if we try hello, I guess 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, this one should be accepted. Right, let's say, one value should be rejected. Yeah, right, let's say what other should be accepted. Or in fact, all right, let's say first, just to kind of, specify which one is, right? So first value should be rejected. I guess what other, or let's say second, right? Second value, right, should be accepted. Yeah, okay, all right. So I think a lot of people often get confused about what boundary is, but again, what you want, it's going to be a pair. So you're going to have the lower boundary and the upper boundary. Now the lower boundary here is going to be 9 and 10. Actually, I guess you don't really have a range check on this, but let's say if you were doing the range check like we said before, where the maximum score can be 100, well, in that case you would say the upper bound, it's going to be 100, and then of course 101, right, that's going to be the one that's too big. Yeah, so if you're doing a range check, there's actually going to be 2 bounds like that. Right, then the final one, so to make sure the program accepts data that is an appropriate length, okay, well that's going to be normal. Right, and an example, I guess, just like this. Or in fact, I mean, let's go like hello world. Alright, so hello world, that's going to be 10 characters, which should be accepted. Right, okay, this pseudocode algorithm is intended to allow 1000 positive integers to be input and stored in a one-dimensional 1D array. The integers added together as their input and the highest values identified. At the end of the algorithm, the highest number, the total, and the average of numbers are output. Right, okay, and we want to identify the line numbers of 5 errors in the pseudocode and suggest a correction for each error. Right, okay, so these questions, what I like to do, okay, I like to try and find the 5 errors first, and then once I've found those 5 errors, then I'll start writing them. Because sometimes, maybe you think this is possibly an error, but, then later in the code you actually find like a 6th error, for example. So yeah, I would say, try and actually make sure you've got the correct errors first. Right, so let's just read through this sort of line by line. Right, declare numbers array, 1 to 1000 of integer. Right, I mean here the bounds look correct, the syntax looks correct, the data type also looks correct. So I think that seems okay. Right, okay, number 2, declare highest string. Well, obviously, I mean this string, that should be an integer. So yeah, that's going to be one of our errors. Right, next, count and total, right, declare them as integers. That seems okay. Right here, if we go highest is 1500. Now, Actually, this will be a problem because let's imagine they only enter numbers, I don't know, yeah, like 100, or maybe they enter 200, let's say they enter, you know, something else. Well, in that case, what it's going to say is actually going to say that our highest was 1500, because actually all of the numbers that we entered were, you know, less than this highest value. Alright, so I think what we can do here, because it says positive integers, well then actually we can just start this at 0. Really okay, so if we don't know it only has to be positive integers, then really the best way to do it is just set it as being equal to the first element. But yeah, because here we know they have to be positive integers, well then we can just set it to 0. Right, okay, then we look at total, right, total is 0, yeah, that seems okay. Right, so for count, right, start at 1, obviously end index, right, 1000 again seems okay. Right, then we're going to input to numbers count, I mean, yeah, that seems okay. Yeah, the index, yeah, the count variable, right, the for loop counter. Right, the next one, so, well, that's total, and we're going to assign that total plus count. Right, so this seems a little bit wrong because I guess here, right, this should be the numbers count. Right, because, yeah, okay, so the numbers count, well, of course, that's the number we just input. Right, then if we look at the next one, so if numbers count, right, so the current number we input is greater than the total, right, so I think here this should be greater than highest. Right, then what we're going to do, we're going to assign the highest, and that's going to be, well, the new number we've just entered. Yeah, that seems okay. Right, then if we look at the next one, so the end if, yeah, that matches up with the if. Right, next count, again, that kind of matches up with the for loop. Yeah, it's the same variable, or yeah, same identifier. Right, then output, so the highest number is highest, yeah, that seems okay. Right, total is total, yeah, seems okay. Right, then the final one, so the average is average divided by 1000. Right, okay, so I think if we're calculating the average, well, this should actually be the total divided by 1000. And actually, yeah, okay, right, also they haven't actually declared an average anywhere. Alright, so I think for this one, yeah, we would just use total divided by 1000. Right, okay, so let's just try and write these then. So error line 1, or yeah, error 1, right, that's going to be, well, line 2. Right, correction, so I guess here, I mean, let's just write the whole line. Right, so that's going to be declare. Right, then we want to go highest. Right, and yeah, let's just make that an integer. Right, okay, then the next one, right, that's going to be line 5. Right, and I think what that's going to be highest. And here we're just going to assign that the value 0. Right, then I guess line 3, okay, that's going to be line 9. Right, and we're going to go what total assign numbers count. Right, okay, that's 9, yeah, see if I can remember that. Right, okay, so total. Right, then we're going to assign, that's going to be total. Yeah, okay, right, yeah, okay, right, so plus. And then what, I think that was numbers. And then, right, index count. Yeah, okay, right, then line, okay, error 4, right, that's line 10, so if numbers count is greater than highest. Right, okay, so yeah, if, and that's going to be numbers, right, the index will be count, and yeah, let's kind of make sure that's a square bracket, right, and that should be, wait, actually, this is high, yeah, right, okay, yeah, okay, so if this is greater than the highest, yeah, that should be fine. Right, then error 5, we want to go, right, the average is, and then what, total divided by 1000, right, and that's line 17. Right, okay, so output, yeah, the average, right, the average is, and I'm going to make sure I've kind of, yeah, got that, right, okay, right, and let's also sort of have that space in there. Right, that's going to be what, total, total divided by 1000. Right, okay, then the next one, so write the pseudocode statement to output the average of the numbers rounded to 2 decimal places. Okay, right, so here then what we're just going to use the round function as we've seen before, and I guess what it's going to be, well, total divided by 1000, right, but then there's also a second parameter which is going to be 2. Right, so let's just write that again, and I'm also going to include the error message. Right, okay, yeah, let's go the average, right, the average is, and here what we're going to go round. And right, this time, so it's going to be what, total divided by 1000, and then here, right, we're going to have a comma because, well, of course, this is the second parameter, right? Yeah, then it's just going to be 2. Right, so explain how you could change the corrected algorithm so that I find the smallest number that was input and outputs its value at the end. Right, any code used must be fully explained. Right, okay, so I guess what we would say, well, 1 we would have to declare. So yeah, let's maybe mention that first. Or in fact, okay, so let's try and explain everything first. Right, so we would have to declare, well, I guess, well, smallest or minimum, right, that's also going to be an integer. Right, we would then either have to assign the minimum as being some, extremely large value, let's see what, like, sort of, 999, or obviously, etc. I mean, that's not really the best way to do it. I think a better way to do it would actually be to assign it to be the value of the first element. So we could have here, we could have an if statement, and that if statement would be, right, if count equals 1, right, or I guess what numbers count is less than the minimum, right, then we would set that as being the minimum value. Okay, so basically what we're saying is whatever they enter for the first value, well, that's going to automatically be set as the minimum, because in here we would also have an or, right, so we say, so what if count is equal to 1, right, so yeah, if it's, the first element, or what the numbers count, right, so the current element is less than the minimum, and then I guess just output at the end. Right, so let's do that. Let's say what declare, let's say a variable, right, I'm going to call it, let's say min, right, min to, well, I guess store. Alright, actually, let's go declare an integer variable. Right, declare an integer variable min to store what the minimum value. Right, okay, let's say we're inside the for loop. Right, inside the for loop. Right, let's say add. Add an if statement. Right, add an if statement. Right, that checks. Right, that checks if the count is equal to 1. The count, right, is equal to 1. Alright, and maybe in brackets, right, i.e., I guess what the first number they entered. Right, i.e., the first, right, the first number the user entered. Or what if the current number, and let's explain how that's going to be. What's going to be, right, numbers index count. Right, if the current number, let's see what's specified by. Right, specified by, I guess, well, numbers. Right, numbers index count. Right, okay, and that's going to be square brackets. Right, or if the current number is what, less than. Right, less than the min. Less than the min value. Right, let's say then. What then? I guess what updates. Update the min. Right, by assigning it the current value. Right, by assigning it. Right, by assigning it the current value. Okay, right, and I guess what we can say finally. So finally, outside of the loop. Right, outside of the loop. Let's say output the min along with an appropriate message. Right, output the min. Right, the min value. Right, along. With an appropriate message. So I think that's okay. Right then, 7, this flowchart represents an algorithm. Right, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to read through it first, see if we can understand what it's trying to do. This one is quite long, I guess. Right, okay, so we've got start. Right, first it's going to output continue, I guess question mark. Right, then we're going to input an answer. Right, so if the answer is equal to y, I guess yes. Right, then we're going to input some, well, sort of value 1. Right, then we're going to input an operator, then we're going to input value 2. Right, so what is operator equal to a? Right, if it is, well, then we're going to output value 1 plus value 2. Right, if it's not equal to a, well, then we're going to check is operator equal to s. Right, okay, if it is, well, then we're just going to go what value 1 minus 2. Right, if it's not, well, if it's okay, right, so if it's equal to m, I guess multiply. Right, then of course, well, value 1, right, times times value 2. Right, and if it's not, well, then we're just going to do divide. So of course here, what obviously a means add, or s subtract, or m multiply. Just a calculator. Right, okay, so then we're just going to go back to the start again, and we're just going to output continue. And I guess, well, this time if they don't enter a big Y, right, then we're just going to stop. Alright, so basically just a kind of simple calculator. Right, and we want to complete the trace table for this input data. Okay, so I've just gone to split screen just so it makes it easier to do. Right, okay, so if we start here then, well, first we're just going to output continue. Right, okay, then we're going to input answer. So the answer they input is going to be y. So that's going to be here, y. Right, okay, then we're going to check, right, is answer equal to y? Okay, yes, right, then we're going to input value 1. So value 1, right, that's going to be 7. Right, then we're going to input the operator, so I guess s. Right, then we're going to input 9. Right, okay, then we're going to check what is operator equal to a, right, no, obviously is it equal to s, right, yes. So then we're just going to output, well, value 1 minus value 2. Okay, right, so here then we're going to output minus 2. Right, then we're going to go back, and then we're just going to output continue again. Right, okay, and again, right, then they're going to enter y. So let's just write that here. Right, then they're going to enter 5. Right, they're going to enter m, and they're going to enter 12. Right, and this one is going to be multiply. So I guess what, 5 times 12? Well, that's going to be 60. Right, and okay, yeah, then we're going to go back to continue again. Right, and here then, okay, they're going to enter y again. Right, they're going to enter 25 for value 1. Right, then they're going to enter, well, divide. Right, then it's going to be 5. Right, okay, and then I guess we just want to do, what, 25 divided by 5. So that's going to output 5. Right, okay, and, well, then they're going to enter no. So, right, let's go continue. Right, yeah, question mark. Right, then they're going to enter no. And, yeah, I guess at this point it's just going to stop, right, and we don't have any output here. Okay, so I think, yeah, hopefully that's correct. Right, okay, then we want to state the purpose of the algorithm on page 6. Right, okay, so let's say what, a calculator. Yeah, let's say a calculator. Let's say like to perform, well, I guess addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, yeah, on, well, I guess pairs of numbers. Or let's say to perform, let's say, right, plus, minus, well, I guess, yeah, divide, right, multiply, right, on pairs of input numbers. Yeah, okay, right, so I think that should be alright. Right, then says there's problems with the given algorithm if the lowercase letter y, so small y, is entered for answer. The algorithm stops, and if a lowercase letter is entered for operator, the algorithm gives an incorrect output. Right, explain how you would change the algorithm to prevent the problems described. Right, so let's try and see if we can spot these two issues then. Right, so one, what if a lowercase y is entered for answer? Yeah, okay, because if we see here, well, if they enter a small y, well, then of course it's going to go to this no part. Right, and the other one, so if a lowercase letter is entered for the operator, and again, I guess we have the same problem, right, that if, let's say, they enter a small a, well, then it's going to go to no, alright, obviously no, no. So actually what's going to happen is if they enter a small letter, well, then it's always going to divide. Yeah, which is probably not what we want. Right, okay, so the way we can fix this, either we could check kind of both conditions. So we could say, what is answer equal to, well, big Y, yeah, or is answer equal to small y. In reality, a better way to do it is we can just convert all of the inputs to lower, okay, so we can convert all of the inputs to uppercase, because I guess here they're checking uppercase. So let's say that we can add, actually, let's say add. Yeah, add 2 process boxes. Yeah, let's see what one. Alright, so actually, I guess, well, both of these can come after all of the inputs, to be honest. We don't really just need it after the operator. Yeah, actually, no, right, yeah, okay. So I guess the first process box has to go here. Right, I guess, well, the next process box can go here after the operator. Right, so let's say that I wrote 1, yeah, 1 after, I don't know, yeah, the input answer. Alright, let's, okay, yeah, let's say 1 after inputting the answer. Right, and the other, let's say right after. yeah, after what inputting the operator. Right, and let's say what to convert the inputs. Convert right the inputs right to uppercase. Right, uppercase, yeah, using I guess what the built-in ucase function. Right, the built-in let's go well ucase. Yeah, ucase function. Yeah, okay. I mean, I think that's okay. Like, since we have these two extra lines, I mean, let's think maybe how we can expand this. Let's maybe explain why this will work. Right, let's say, yeah, this will work. Right, this will work. Let's say what, because, all right, let's say both, yeah, both the user inputs, right, both the user inputs and, right, let's see what and value we are comparing with. Yeah, value we are comparing with, let's say what are of the same case. Right, comparing with, yeah, okay, let's say, yeah, are of the same case. Yeah, or you could say what are both uppercase. Right, okay, then we want to identify one more error related to inputs when the algorithm is run. And actually, this one is a bit strange because I was thinking, well, will they accept, for example, things like type checks? Yeah, so actually here in the mark scheme, okay, they do accept, for example, type check. Also things like divide by 0, because let's say if you enter 2 here, right, yeah, okay, so if you enter 0 for this value 2, well then of course we're going to get what's something divided by 0 here. I mean, in reality, like, I'm not even sure if that should really be an error in like a real calculator, because let's say if you're using a real calculator, well, if you enter like 5, you know, divided by 0, I mean, it's not going to say, I don't know, yeah, like sort of divide by 0, you know, try again. Basically, it's just going to output that error. It's not going to, you know, prompt you to actually re-enter that second number. Yeah, so I guess if it's a real calculator, you know, it's kind of assuming that you're typing in the correct numbers, and that if you do enter a sort of, you know, divide by 0, well, that's kind of your own fault. It's not going to sort of, yeah, re-ask you to enter again. Alright, so I think here, I mean, let's just maybe go type check. Yeah, okay, alright, let's say type checks. Let's say, right, type checks could be added, right, to ensure the user, yeah, the user what has entered a valid number. Yeah, okay, so I think that should be okay probably. Then number 8, a database table major cities stores some details about a number of cities from around the world. And with these questions, I think it's a good idea just to have a look at the table, right, just to get an overview of, yeah, some of the sample data. Right, so we see code, well, that's going to be an ID, I guess, well, just a sort of varchar, right, text. Right, I guess city, again, also, well, varchar, right, text. Well, I see capital, well, just Boolean, true or false, right, whether it's a capital city. Right, country, continent, or I guess, yeah, both varchars. Right, and population, well, I guess just integer. Right, so we want to store the number of fields and records in this database table. Right, so the number of fields, well, that's basically just the columns. So if we look here, well, we can just see what 6 columns. Well, obviously, yeah, code to population, right, just 6. Right, then the next one, so records. Records, I mean, basically that's the number of rows. You can also call it the number of tuples as well. Right, so I'm going to zoom out just so we can have a look at all of them. Right, so to be honest, like in the exam, I would probably be tempted just to actually number them because it's actually so easy just to miscount here. Alright, but actually I've done this already, so this one's actually going to be 23, right, if you just sort of spend the time, yeah, counting through all of those. And to be honest, actually, I did also try here, they have this Ask Copilot. Okay, yeah, okay, yeah, so there we go. Alright, I did also try this Ask Copilot feature, just kind of getting Copilot to do the paper. And I mean, actually, it did super well. It got probably, you know, 70 out of 75. But actually, yeah, okay. So this was actually one of the questions it got wrong. So yeah, it's actually super easy. Okay, just to miscount these. Right. Anyway, the next one. So we want to identify the field in your database table that is most suitable to be the primary key and give one reason for your choice. Well, the primary key, if we look at that, okay, that's going to be the code. Because actually, I mean, you may think possibly we could use the city. But if you see, we actually do have 2 cities here, right, both called Valencia. And yeah, I mean, actually, if this was, all cities in the world, well, I mean, of course, you're going to have much more than two that have the same name. Right, okay, so the primary key field, well, that's going to be code. Right, and the reason we can say what the code can uniquely identify any record in the database, or yeah, any record in the table. Right, let's say the code, the code field, or in fact, let's say all values. Let's kind of sort of start again. Right, okay, yeah, let's say all values in the code field are unique. Right, all values, values in, the code field, right, are unique. Right, that should be a Q. Yeah, okay, unique. Right, what hence? Right, hence, I guess it can be used to, I guess, what uniquely identify, any record. Right, okay, let's say that. Right, hence it can, can be used, right, to, I guess, well, yeah, uniquely identify. Right, let's say what any, any record, right, in the table. Okay, right, then we want to give the output from the structured query language SQL statement. Right, so we're selecting the city, country, population, right, so 3 columns or 3 fields, from, the major city table, right, where continent equals South America and order by population. Now here you want to be careful, okay, because if we say order by, well, the default is going to be ascending, right, so this actually means, well, smallest to biggest. Obviously, if you want descending, well, then you have to go, right, DESC. So yeah, just adding that kind of keyword. Right, okay, so actually I'm just going to zoom out and maybe I'm going to write the answers up here, just so I can see it all on the same page. Right, so it's right, city, country, population. Right, and yeah, let's maybe zoom out a bit. Right, okay, so actually if we look then, right, so South America, well, it's going to be this one. Right, it's also going to be this one and it's going to be this one. Right, so only 3 records. Right, and if we want order by population, well, this one is the smallest, right, therefore this will be first, right, let's say number 1. Right, I guess this one is going to be number 2, right, this one's going to be number 3. So basically we just have to write that, and wait, was it city, country, city, country, population. Right, okay, so the first one then, well, that's going to be Valencia. Right, and country, I guess, right, Venezuela. Right, and then, well, the population, and I guess here you have to make sure that you kind of type this correctly. Or, well, yeah, kind of, write it correctly. Right, then the next one, number 2, that's going to be, I guess, right, Lima. Right, so Lima, yeah, in Peru, and that has, right, 11 million. Right, and then the final one, okay, so, I guess, Buenos Aires. Yeah, my Spanish sort of pronunciation is terrible. Right, okay, and that's going to be in, right, Argentina. And, right, that has, okay, right, 15 million. Yeah, so I think hopefully not too difficult question, just as long as you make sure to, kind of write all the data down correctly. Right, okay, then we want to complete the SQL statement to list only the, right, code, city, and country, right, and continent of all the cities in the database that are capital cities. Right, okay, so first then, well, let's write down what we want to select. Right, that's going to be code. Right, it's also city. And I think here, yeah, let's make it capitals because it's also capitals in the, I guess in the, what sort of table. Right, country, let's go continent. And yeah, I think all begins with C. Right, okay, yeah, of all the cities in the database that are capital cities, right, okay, so then we want from. Right, so from, and I think it was called major city. Right, okay, so then we're going to have a where, so just, filtering the records that we want to select, or, filtering the rows we want to select. Right, and I think what here then is just going to be capital, and, we just want to go what equals true. Alright, and, that's going to be a boolean, and I guess let's just finish it with the semicolon. Okay, I think that's, all we need for that one. Right, okay, then number 9, so consider this logic expression, right, so Z, right, that's going to be what A, NAND, B, XOR, right, then we're going to, well, not, right, inside that we have another not, right, okay, that's going to be not B, right, then NAND, C. Right, and if we think about these sort of precedents, well, not has higher precedence than NAND, right, therefore, basically, we can think of that, it's kind of like this, right, okay, okay, so it's going to be not B, and then NAND, C. don't make the mistake of, for example, doing B NAND C and then knotting that whole thing. Right, okay, so yeah, we want to draw a logic circuit. Right, so first then, well, let's start from the left. It's going to be A NAND B. Alright, so if we think, okay, so AND is just going to be this sort of D shape. And then obviously, NAND, right, we just put the, sort of not circle in front of it. Right, okay, so this XOR, this is going to be at the end. Right, so what we can do, well, we can start from these innermost brackets. Right, so first we're going to have not B. Let's maybe sort of do that down here somewhere. Right, okay, not B. Alright, then we're going to NAND that with C. That's a sort of terrible line, hang on. Okay, right, so, okay, right, let's NAND that with C. Right, then we're going to knot all of that. Looking at this knot here. Right, and then I guess, finally, then we're just going to XOR these two together. Alright, so XOR, hopefully you remember, alright, that's going to be the sort of double line, and then this kind of, OR gate. Alright, and if, let's say, you're not very good at drawing the gates, I mean, yes, same as me, alright, what you can actually do, you can just, write, okay, right, this is a NAND gate, this is an XOR, just label them, right, just so it's obvious for the examiner. Right, then we want to complete the truth table from the given logic expression. Alright, so let's just zoom out and look at the different parts we need. Alright, so I think first, I guess we can do this A NAND B if we want. Right, A NAND B. Right, okay, then let's do this not B. Right, okay, not B. Right, then we're going to want, I guess, not B NAND C. There's not too much space here to write. Not B. Right, NAND C. Right, I guess, then we just want to knot that. So that's going to be what? Not. Okay, so not B. I guess NAND C. There's really not much space here. Right, okay, okay, then, finally we just XOR that together. And that's obviously going to be this, right, Z. Okay, right, so let's see if we can do this. Right, now if we think NAND, alright, so NAND is just the opposite of AND. So if we have AND, the outputs for AND is going to be what, 3 zeros, then a 1. So if we have NAND, basically it's always going to be 1, right, except for when both inputs are 1. Okay, so what we can do, here both inputs are 1, right, so that's going to be 0, and then everything else, they're just going to be all 1s. Right, then if we look at the next one, not B, so of course, right, okay, so if B is 0, then it's going to become 1, right, if it's 1, then it's going to become 0. Right, okay, then if we look at not B NAND C, so I guess, right, that's this one, and then we want to NAND it with C. So again, what we're looking for then is that if we have 2 1s, then it's going to be a 0. So let's try and find all of those, again, looking at this column and this column. Right, okay, so 2 1s here, it's going to be a 0. I guess 2 1s here, it's going to be a 0. And I think that's all of them. Alright, so then I guess all of these are just going to be 1s. Right, then if we have, I guess just not this, so right then it's, right, okay, so looking at this column, right, that's going to become a 0, right, that's a 1, that's 0. Obviously, not 0 becomes 1, and okay, knotting both of those. Right, okay, so then we're going to take, this column here, and we're just going to XOR it, and we're going to XOR it with this column. Okay, so XOR, if they're different, then it's going to be 1. If they're the same, then it's going to be a 0. So here, okay, okay, right, so 1 XOR 0, they're different, therefore it's a 1. Right here, 1 XOR 1, they're the same. All right, different. Right here, it's going to be the same. Okay, different and different. Then if we look at the last question, the 15 mark, it says a sports club uses a 6-character alphanumeric membership code to identify each member of the club. The one-dimensional 1D array member ID is used to store the unique membership codes for club members. The two-dimensional 2D array name is used to store the names of the club members. The first and last name of each member will be stored in separate array elements. I guess the first name in column 1, the surname in column 2. Right, okay, the system can store details for a maximum of 1,000 members. The position of any member's data is the same in both arrays. For example, the data in index 2 of member ID belongs to the member in index 2 of name. Right, the variable new ID is used to input a new membership code, and we want to write a program that meets the following requirements. Right, okay, so we want to provide a menu that offers the choices, right, so we can input a new member, output a list of membership codes, right, first names and last names, right, or stopping. So I think just 3 menu choices. Right, we would input and validate a response to the menu. Right, then when inputting a new member, we want to input a new membership code and check that it contains 6 characters. Right, if the new code is 6 characters, then check it against all the previously stored membership codes, right, to make sure it's unique. Right, if the code is not unique, then a new code must be entered and checked. Right, if the code is unique, then it's stored in the first available space in the appropriate array, and the new member is required to enter their first name and last name, which are also stored in the corresponding location in the appropriate array. Right, when outputting a list of membership codes and names, output for each member their membership code, first name and last name, so just all of the details. And the program will continue until the stop operation of the menu is selected. Right, you must use pseudocode or program code and add comments to explain how your code works. You don't need to declare any arrays variable to constant. Right, we can assume that's already been done. We also don't need to initialize the data in the arrays. However, you do need to initialize any variables or constants used if appropriate. So I guess this is saying if you sort of create your own variables, right, then you'd also have to initialize those. Right, and all inputs and outputs must contain suitable messages. Alright, so if we just go here, now we can go to the exam questions, right, click on this questions, right, and then let's click on this one, okay, sports club members, and right, then we'll just go opening code editor, just to open this, right, with the starter code. Right, and I think I've also, I've also copied the sort of requirements here. Right, so what I'm thinking then is, actually for this one, I've created this constant just so we can test it with, less members if we want. Alright, but I think what we can do, we probably want some sort of like next member ID, and that next member ID, well, that can start at 1. So if we kind of enter the first person, well, they're of course going to be inserted at index 1. Right, then when we've kind of added that person to the array, well, then that next member ID is going to increment to 2. Right, then of course when we enter the next person, well, then they're going to be sort of input in kind of index 2. Alright, so let's maybe create that. Let's go next member ID, or in fact actually not right, okay, so not ID, right, it's going to be next member index. Right, so that's going to be an integer. I think we're also going to want a choice for the menu. So I think let's just go like menu choice. Alright, and we can probably just go right 1 to 3, where we say what 1 is going to be a kind of new member. Right, 2, I guess, outputting a list of membership codes, right, 3, stopping. Right, and that also needs to be validated, so that can probably go in a, let's say, repeat until loop. Right, okay, then we want to input and validate. Yeah, okay, we've sort of talked about that. Right, okay, so I think what I'm going to do, and this will be similar to the bank, I think what was the bank accounts question. I'm actually probably going to create a procedure for each of the different things. So for example, input a new member, I make a procedure. Outputting a list of all the members, again, procedure. And I think for this one, where we have to check if the code is unique, right, we can basically create a linear search function for that, where what we would do is, well, we would just search the current ID, and obviously kind of starting from element 1, right, checking if any element from element 1, I guess up until the next member index -1, right, check if any of those elements, kind of equal the new ID that we're trying to insert. Of course, if they do, well, then we would ask them to, enter a new ID. Right, and and the reason it's going to be the next member index -1 is because, let's say if we've entered, I don't know, 4 people, well, the next member index is going to be 5, right, but currently there's only obviously 1 to 4 that are currently full. That's why we would only loop up until the next member index -1. Alright, so let's just try and sort of get started on this, see how far we can get. Right, okay, so let's put all of this in a repeat until loop. And basically what we're going to repeat until the member choice is equal to 3. And I think I'm just going to have an output, let's say, I don't know, like goodbye or something. Just, to sort of signify we're ending the program. Right, okay, so let's ask them to enter their their menu choice, and what we can have is, I guess we can have this in a loop, and we would just ask them to sort of enter again, if they don't enter a value between 1 and 3. Okay, so let's do, alright, so let's have another repeat until. Alright, and I think here let's go output. Let's say, I don't know, like welcome. I don't know, yeah, please, or in fact, actually, yeah, right, okay, so let's say, I don't know, yeah, please choose an option. Because, okay, right, so the reason I don't have welcome again is because, well, otherwise it's going to say, you know, welcome, please choose an option, right, welcome, please choose an option, welcome again. Whereas I guess really we would only want to say, you know, welcome probably one time. Right, okay, let's go, yeah, please choose an option. Right, and let's say 1, right, so 1 is going to be, well, I guess input new member. Alright, so I think actually if you're doing this in the exam, I mean, you can have it just as a single output like that. You could also have it as well, multiple outputs. So you then get, right, 1, yeah, input new member, obviously have another output for, I guess, yeah, output list of all members. The thing is with that, I mean, that won't work on the site that well because basically only the most recent output is displayed on the input box. Alright, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to put this on a new line, yeah, just so we can see all of these. Yeah, although again, in the exam, I think you shouldn't really do, you know, multi-line strings like this, right? Yeah, right, okay, so if you want to output, you know, different kind of text on different lines in the exam, well, then you would need, you know, sort of different output statements for each one. Right, okay, so 2, I don't know, yeah, display all members or something. All right, let's go 3, and what that's going to be stop. Yeah, I think that should be okay. Right, and then let's go, I guess, what, input? Right, input menu choice. And, I mean, if you want, you could have an if statement here just to, yeah, kind of, I don't know, tell them there's an error. So let's go, what if menu choice is less than 1? Right, or menu choice is, what, greater than 3? Right, then let's output, I don't know, yeah, invalid menu choice, for example. Yeah, that should be fine. Right, let's have end if, and here again, basically, we're going to have that same condition. Right, yeah, okay. Alright, but I guess because it's until, it's going to be the opposite. Right, so we're going to go, what, until menu choice is greater than or equal to 1. Yeah, and menu choice is, what, less than or equal to 3. So basically, yeah, kind of checking it's valid. Right, and then I think here, I mean, we could use an if statement. I think when we just have kind of individual values like this, we can probably make a case statement. And yeah, that's going to be a bit more concise. So let's go case of, and right, that's going to be menu choice. Alright, I'm just going to do end case. Right, so here then the first one. Now, right, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create these procedures. Yeah, just so it's going to give me the sort of code suggestion in a minute. Right, so let's go, I don't know, yeah, insert, or, okay, right, let's go add, yeah, add new member. Right, and this actually doesn't need any parameters because what it said is it's saying that when they kind of insert new data, well, it's just going to update this global new ID variable. So yeah, we don't need to sort of pass in any ID, right? We can just use this global variable. Right, okay, so I guess 1, well, then we're going to go, what, call add new member. Right, then let's say 2. Right, so 2, well, let's create a procedure. Let's call it, what, display all members. Yeah, okay, display, yeah, all members. Right, okay, and I think, well, yeah, for the third one, it's just going to be stop, right, which we don't need anything for that. Alright, and, yeah, right, yeah, okay, because, alright, so if they enter 3, well, then we actually don't need anything in the case statement, because I guess what here is just going to go, yeah, and kind of, you know, sort of terminate the loop, right, when they enter 3. Yeah, I think that's okay, right, and then we probably also want a function, and let's call it maybe what is unique ID or something. So let's go function, yeah, is unique ID. And right, again, I mean, we don't really need to pass it an ID because, again, we can just use this, you know, new ID. Right, so let's go returns, and that's going to return a boolean. And right, let's just go end function. And of course, yeah, we'll create this in a minute. Right, okay, so the first one then, add new member. Let's look at what we need to do specifically. Right, okay, so when inputting a new membership code, and check that it contains 6 characters. Right, so let's do that here then. Right, so let's go output. And right, do we actually need to ask them again? Yeah, so I think for this one we don't really need to ask them again if they don't enter 6 characters. Otherwise they would actually get in a kind of infinite loop, right? So let's say if they, for example, accidentally choose, you know, add new member, but then let's say they actually want to exit that and they sort of, yeah, don't want to add a new member. I think here it kind of gives them a sort of good option where if they don't enter anything, well, then it's just going to go back to the menu. Yeah, so I think this one we don't need to kind of like keep asking until they enter 6 characters. Right, okay, so let's go here, let's go, I don't know, yeah, sort of like, okay, well, let's say, I don't know, yeah, sort of like choose new ID, or, right, okay, yeah, so let's go input member ID. Right, so then we're going to input that into the new ID, and I think here we can just have an if statement. So let's go if length of new ID is equal to 6. Right, well then we're going to do something. Right, let's have an else. Right, we'll have an end if, and here let's just go and we'll just output, and this will be the error message. I don't know, let's say, I don't know, yeah, okay, alright, so what member ID should be 6 characters. Right, 6 characters in length. Yeah, I think that's okay. Right, so if they do enter 6 characters, right, so then we want to check against the previously stored membership codes. Right, okay, so what we can do, let's try and create this one. And right, we should probably also initialize this next member index. Right, okay, so yeah, let's initialize that to 1. Right, so here what we want to do, and I think we don't actually need any local variables here. Alright, yeah, right, okay, so I guess just a sort of for counter. Right, let's go index, I guess. Yeah, and this index, I mean, you can call what the sort of current member index, basically. Right, so here let's go for, right, index, well, that's going to be 1, and we're going to go 2, and what this is the next member index minus 1. So actually on the first iteration, well, this won't loop at all, because I guess what the next member index is 1, obviously, well, this minus 1, right, that's just going to be 0. Yeah, so on the first time, I guess, well, that, right, yeah, okay, so I guess the first person that we, you know, enter into the array, well, I mean, that's always going to be unique anyway, so yeah, that's kind of fine. Right, so what we want to do, so we want to check, and we want to check what if the member ID, right, and that's going to be what our index is equal to what the new ID that we're trying to enter. Right, if it is, well, then we can just return false. Yeah, alright, because I guess, well, then it's not going to be unique. Right, then we can just go next. Right, so that's going to be next index, and right, finally, well, let's just return true. Okay, because if we've looped through all of the current members, you know, obviously up until this next member index minus 1, right, and if we've not found any that have matched, right, if we've not returned false, well, then of course that means that it's, well, yeah, right, okay, so then it means that it is unique, right, so of course we can return true. Right, okay, so yeah, how do we actually want to call this? Right, okay, so if it's not unique, a new code must be entered and checked. Okay, right, so this I guess we do need in a loop. Yeah, right, let's try that then. So let's go, what, while, and that's going to be, right, is unique ID, and let's go, what, equals false. Right, and I guess here, let's have an output message. Right, and actually I'm just going to copy this. Right, let's say, okay, right, let's go like new ID, right, is not unique. Right, is not a, I guess, unique member ID. Yeah, okay, right, let's go try again. Yeah, I think that should be okay. Right, okay, yeah, so then let's think, well, if it is unique, right, so if it is unique, it's stored in the first available space in the appropriate array. Right, and the new member is required to enter their first name and last name. Right, okay, so here then, right, so if it is unique, well, then we can just input that into the member ID. Right, okay, so member ID, that's going to be, what, the next member index. And here, right, let's assign that the new ID. Right, then we want to ask for their names. And I think here probably let's validate these. So let's go repeat. Right, let's go until. Now here I think what the position is going to be what name and then index 1. Alright, yeah, right, okay. So I guess, well, the row, right, the row is going to be the next member index, right, and then the column, well, the column is going to be index 1 for the first name, obviously, yeah, index 2 for the second name. Right, so let's go that, let's go output, I know, yeah, enter first name. Right, and here let's input that, and right, that's going to be name. The index, we said, well, that's the next member ID, well, yeah, the next member index, right, and yeah, that's going to be index 1. Right, and here what we can do, let's just check until this is not equal to an empty string. So basically just doing a presence check. Right, and then here we can just copy this really quickly. So right, that's going to be enter second name. Of course, yeah, make this the second index. Right, so I think that should be okay. Right, so yeah, if it's unique, yeah, okay. Alright, so I think for that one it's probably okay. Alright, let's try then just outputting this. Right, so then we just want to go this display all members. And again, let's just go what declare index, right, that's an integer because we're just looping through. So let's go what for index, that's going to be 1, right, to the next member index minus 1. Again, for the same reason, because what the next, and actually, okay, right, yeah, so that's, okay, right, that's one thing we haven't done. We also want to make sure to increment this next member index. Yeah, okay, right, so here then we want to output. Right, and maybe I'll also just have an output here just to kind of introduce what we're doing. And then let's go, okay, let's say like member list, right, yeah, that should be okay. Right, so I guess first let's go the name. Or in fact, actually, let's do the ID first. So let's say, yeah, okay, alright, let's say member ID. And right, that's going to be the member ID and at the current index. Right, then if we just output, I guess, what member name. Right, and that's going to be what name, and right, the first one, well, that's going to be the index, and right, that's column 1, right, getting the first name. Right, then I'm going to have a space, and then let's just have the surname. So that's going to be index, right, column 2. And I think then if we just go, okay, yeah, let's go right next index. Yeah, and I think that's probably all we need. Alright, so what I'm going to do, okay, I'm just going to read through quickly, yeah, make sure I've got everything. Right, so provide a menu offers the choice to input new member, yeah, output a list of membership codes, right, and yeah, the first and last name, right, or stopping, yeah, okay. Right, input and validate a response to the menu, yeah, I think we have that, yeah, because we have this repeat here. Right, then we want to, right, okay, here, right, so when inputting a new member, input a new membership code, yeah, and check it contains 6 characters, okay, yeah. Right, if the new code is 6 characters, check it against the previously stored membership codes. Right, make sure it's unique. Yeah, I think we've done that. Right, if the code is not unique, a new code must be entered and checked. Yeah, okay, we've done that right in that while loop. Right, if it is unique, it's stored in the first available space in the appropriate array. Yeah, I think we've done that. Right, they enter their first and last name. Yeah, which are also stored in the corresponding location in the appropriate array. Yeah, when outputting, right, output the names, their membership code, first name, last name, and it's going to continue until the stop. Alright, so I think that's everything. Now, I guess, well, this is the moment of truth, right? See if it works or not. Yeah, most likely not. Right, okay, so first, actually, okay, so let's try just to display all members, right? Just see if it crashes. Okay, yeah, so member list just empty, right? That seems okay. Right, then we want to input members. Let's try and input for like 3. Okay, right, it's going to say, yeah, member ID should be 6 characters in length. Right, okay, so then we can go back to the menu. Let's try again. Right, let's try, I guess, I don't know, like, yeah, I guess that's 6. Wait, was that not 6? No, okay, well, that was 7. Right, okay, 3. Okay, right, that's 6. Right, first name, I don't know, let's go, yeah, Albert. Right, let's go Einstein. Right, let's try then display all members. Yeah, okay, member list, right, A, Albert Einstein. Alright, that seems okay. Right, let's try and add a new member. Right, let's go B. Yeah, who else? Yeah, I don't know, scientist, I'm not too sure. Let's go, like, Niels. Maybe Niels Bohr. Yeah, maybe that's how you spell it. Right, let's enter maybe one more, and we'll go, alright, let's go Newton. Yeah, here at Isaac and Newton. Okay, right, so I hope this works, and then we can just go, well, display all members. And yeah, okay, right, this, yeah, okay, so this seems to be working. Alright, now, actually, let's also check the stop. And yeah, okay, stop, right, then it says goodbye. Right, guys, so I think that's all we need to do. Alright, one thing we could actually add, and this is maybe a bit of an extension, because actually currently, if they enter 1,000 members, well, this next member index is just going to keep incrementing. So this will actually go to 1,001. Right, then they'll try and enter in index 1,001. Right, of course, that will give an error. So what I'm probably going to do, I'm actually going to go here, and let's go OR. Right, and that's going to be what the next member index is greater than. And I think, did I go like max members? Alright, so what this will check is, yeah, if this is greater than the sort of, sort of size of the array, yeah, then it's also going to stop. Alright, and that's the reason I also made this max members constant. So if, for example, we just make that 2, right, let's try here, let's get input new member, let's try, yeah, I guess all A's again, I don't know, let's go A, Einstein. Right, let's go again, right here, let's try B's. Right, let's try, I guess what, I don't know, yeah, just like Newton again. Yeah, okay, right, so here then we've entered 2 and it just says goodbye. Yeah, okay, so I think that's fine. I mean, like, alright, so if you want it to be better, because I guess you would also want to display the members, you know, even when it's full. I mean, you could, I guess, have an if statement. So let's say inside this add new member, yeah, if the sort of next member index was, you know, greater than the max members, then you just, you know, output a warning, right? Yeah, inside this procedure. But actually, I think in the mark scheme they don't do that, alright? So it's not, yeah, probably, you know, not really required. Alright, so guys, they do say that we do have to comment, alright, and we do get, you know, a couple of marks for commenting the code, so let's just do that here quickly. I mean, here what we can just say, I don't know, yeah, declaring, let's say declaring global variables. Let's say, I don't know, maybe declaring and initializing. Right, initializing global variables. Right, okay, so this repeat loop, this is basically the main loop. Let's say what keep looping. Until what user chooses to quit, yeah, or I guess what arrays are full. Okay, alright, and yeah, then let's go on this loop. So I guess we can say what display menu until user chooses what a number, right, in range 1 to 3. Yeah, basically doing a range check. Right, okay, so I guess here we can say, I don't know, yeah, do action, right, based on user choice. Right, okay, so, I mean, honestly, like, it feels a bit pointless kind of adding a comment, you know, when I think really sort of identifier, right, the procedure name kind of tells us what we're doing. I mean, yeah, okay, so, alright, yeah, let's go like add new member. I'm just kind of repeating ourselves, really. Right, I mean here, what, let's say ensure, yeah, ensure, okay, so I guess we could say like new ID, yeah, okay, let's go, alright, so ensure ID entered, right, is 6 character, or yes, 6 characters in length. Right, okay, let's say here, keep looping, yeah, I guess what, keep looping and asking for new ID, right, and asking for new, yeah, ID, right, until the ID, I don't know, yeah, is unique, or yeah, you know, doesn't already exist. Yeah, I think that's fine. Right, I mean, so what here, let's say, what, yeah, add, I guess what adds the new ID, yeah, to the array. Yeah, okay, alright, okay, yeah, so let's say add new ID at, what the sort of next member index, or the, you know, sort of like next available index. Yeah, let's say that, right, next available index. Right, I mean here, I guess, we can say, right, okay, let's say, what input name, or in fact, okay, yeah, okay, right, so input first name, right, until, I guess, not empty. And then this one we can just copy. Right, so yeah, input second name until not empty. Right, okay, here, I mean, let's say what increment, yeah, increment next available, I don't know, yeah, next available, like, array location, or yeah, sort of member index. Yeah, I think that output, we don't really need a comment there. Right, so here, I mean, basically this is linear search. So yeah, maybe let's say that, right, linear search, to ensure, let's say ensure element, or in fact, okay, yeah, let's be more specific. Okay, right, so to ensure new ID doesn't already exist, yeah, in the member ID, yeah, in the member ID array. Alright, and I guess really this is kind of the opposite for linear search, because, I mean, usually linear search, well, if you find it, you would return true, and obviously if you don't find it, you would return false. But, I mean, other than that, it's still linear search, right? It's just kind of returning the opposite value. Right, and then I guess this one, so, I don't know, yeah, we'll just output, yeah, all member details. Right, and let's say, right, okay, that's going to be what ID, yeah, first and second name. Right, and I think this one, maybe we would want to comment why we've got a -1 there. So I guess here we can add a comment here actually. Right, let's say, I don't know, yeah, loop until I get all current members. Yeah, I think that's okay. Yeah, alright, and then yeah, that's everything. Alright guys, so as always then, hopefully this video is useful. If you've got any questions, ask in the comments, and I'll see you again in the next video.